So, what I want to talk about is your personality being a vehicle for experience. So, more or less, our personality is based off of what we have had happen to us in our lives. More or less, your personality is a set of behaviors that have formed into who you think you are. You know what I mean? They are defined limitations and defined ways of experiencing things inside of your life because of their outgoing expression. The way that experience is going to happen in your life is those ways of expressing themselves create experience for you. So let me say if I went through, a lot of trauma as a child, I'm going to have a lot of emotional problems to deal with, and maybe I'll be able to work through them. Maybe I'll need to seek some sort of help. But based off of something terrible happening in my early childhood, that's going to dictate fundamentally how I experience my life for, a really, really, really long time. And if I have a good childhood, that's going to make me more or less be trusting of people because I have no reason to think otherwise until I have a reason to think otherwise. So, more or less, your personality is the way that you are going to experience everything inside of your environment. And your personality has been shaped by your environment. So it's like a feedback loop system that has happened. You know what I mean? So, where exactly are you in all of that? If you are a person who has been created, chipped away at by experience, by the environment that you've grown up in, where is any of that? Where in any of that is your choice? Well, your choice lies in the idea of changeability. Because, as I've said before, life is change. Everything that is alive is change, and everything that does not change is dead because it is still, it is not expressive. And change is another way of saying that there's an expression happening because it is going up and down. It is unique. It's happening. And your personality is a system of patterns of habit that have formed because of experiences that you had, which have dictated the way that you think in certain circumstances, which will lead to more circumstances, which will lead to more ways that you think about something because it's created a form in your memory, and that form in your memory has become a point of concentration for the way that your personality has grown. So that is not unique to people. That seems to be like a force of nature. It's a law of nature that everything has patterns of habit. So you think about the way that the planet formed, right? Like there were certain objects, they came together because of their certain amount of mass. They started to have some sort of gravitational pull. They started to form into a certain concrescence. That certain concrescence brought more substances and more substances, and eventually those substances organized themselves in a certain way, and now you have a atmosphere. Now you have a certain amount of water. Now you are a certain distance away from the sun. Now you go around that sun in a particular way. Going around the sun in that particular way creates environmental changes. And those environmental changes are fundamental to there being life on that planet. And that's inside of us too. Like, lots of our lives are based off of the patterns of the earth because we're earthbound. And we being earthbound, actually just being inside of these fixed laws of nature inside of our body, that is a human expression of pattern of habit. Your mind, just like the way that that planet formed, just like the way that it created its own seasons, your mind is the same thing, because the planet has a system and has a sort of fixed memory of things that have happened to it. The things that have happened to it have left a form, and that form is fundamental to the way that it keeps and maintains its structure. Same thing with your personality, same thing with your body, same thing with the processes that are happening inside of your body. They have created a form. That form is cyclical. That cycle has certain limitations and boundaries, and everything without that is not you. So if I'm standing in a crowd of 100 people, I'm pretty sure where my body ends and where somebody else's body begins, because I have a specific form with limitations. So externally, I'm very aware of my body. Internally, I'm more or less kind of aware of the traits of my personality, but if I see somebody else and I talk to somebody else, I'm going to get a general, very vague description of their personality. The more I get to know them, the more I get to understand their personality, and I will be able to experience my personality in a different sort of way. So this is two limitations of not, separate entities coming together, and the contrast between them creates another form of habit, right? So there's people that you can get along with. There are other people that you really don't get along with. You being two physical things with an external expression and an internal expression has a way and a vehicle of creating experience on your own terms. Being around somebody else with their own way of experiencing life and expressing life, you two coming together creates a contrast, and that contrast becomes a pattern of habit. That's why relationships are so goddamn hard to maintain, because patterns of habit, it's so hard being your own person and dealing with your own bullshit. Now you have to deal with somebody else's bullshit. Holy fuck. And that is hard to do. That's really hard to do. It's not an easy thing. So everything that comes in contact with something else has to form some sort of organization. And so, where's the freedom in that? If my personality has been formed in a specific way based off of circumstance and environmental influences, where am I? Where you are is being aware of those influences, being aware of what those patterns of habit are. What are the points of concentration that you have in your subconscious mind right now that are influencing what you're saying, what you're doing? How much do you understand about why you're angry, about why you're feeling happy? When you're happy, you don't really question it so much. You don't question why you're happy. If you're sad, you're going to come up with a million questions as to why that shit's going on. If you're angry, you have you know why you're angry. You're very aware of why you're angry. And if you don't know why you're angry and you're just sort of like pissed off all the time, well then you really have like a huge problem on your plate. But generally speaking, when something makes you angry, you're very aware of what that is, and you're very driven to stop it, because that is the way that your personality has been geared and viewed. So being aware of what those things are and not letting them determine what your actions are, that's where your freedom lies. Changing the patterns of habit of expression to who you are and to your personality, because you can change your personality, you can change your body. You can't really do that so much with somebody else. Well, take that back. You can change people, You can even kind of control them. But the thing is that if you do that sort of thing, you're ruining more or less the main thing that makes everybody unique, which is their unpredictability, which is their choice, you know? Like you're caging a bird. I mean, it might be a beautiful cage, but still you're caging a bird and you're clipping its wings for your own purposes. You're not letting it be itself, you know? Things have to find their own expression. And if you want something that is wonderful to be in your life, well, be aware of the contrast of the pattern of habit from the experience that you get around that specific thing. If it's a person, if it's a situation, if it's a climate, if it's an environment, understand your relationship to that outside thing. And therein lies the freedom, because once you live inside of harmony with that relationship, then you're going to understand the changes that you need to make it within yourself. And then that will be reflective to whatever problem that you have. And it's not that easy is the way that I just said it, but more or less that's the idea. More or less it's the idea that you have to go out of your way to make some sort of change for the betterment of yourself. Now, will it make you happy exactly? You know, that's being completely happy all the time should not be your objective. At least being peaceful should be your objective, because if you're at least, you can be somewhat upset, but you can be peaceful and reserved in the way that you're expressing it. You understand that if you are completely reactive to how you feel to outside environment circumstances, well, you are also aware that it's going to take you into very negative places. And if you have the gumption to take yourself out of a situation, you walk away, and then you come back with a clearer head, and you come back to a situation with a lot deeper understanding. Now that's freedom. That's absolutely freedom. But the harder thing is dealing with the patterns of habit that are your defined limitations of your personality. Your personality has been formed based off of your experiences, and they're going to dictate what your future experiences are going to be, because your actions are reactions. Because something has happened, it left a form in your memory, and that is a point of concentration that dictates how you act and how you react. Now you need to be aware about where those points are, about how they affect your emotions, about how they affect who you are to other people, who you are in your environment, what you leave behind. Because as you have probably heard before, how much does one person matter? How much can one person do anything? I'm just one man, I'm just one woman. What can I do in my life? What can I do to affect the world? And the truth is that, everybody has the absolute responsibility about carrying themselves. Why else would there be some sort of moral teachings to help you live a better life inside of harmony? Because it starts with the individual. It starts with the internal decision to be as tranquil and understanding and act as consciously as a situation can allow you to do so. Because you're not always going to create the best possible outcome if something happens. Life is going to hit you, and it's going to hit you unpredictably, and there's no controlling that. The only thing that you can control is how you are. And how you are is going to be emotive in the way that it happens. And who says that there is a right answer? There probably isn't a right answer. You just be in the best way that you know how, in the most tranquil way that you know how, And the only way that's ever going to happen is if you take a stance to understand the changeability of your patterns of habit in your mind, in your subconscious, and in your unconscious, and the habits that you exude out to the world, the way that people perceive you as a person, they perceive your personality, and it's going to leave a form inside of their memory too, you know. There is the passive side. You know, you do an activity and it's going to be a vehicle for you're expressing yourself outward, and it's going to leave a form behind, you know. Even if you do something as minuscule as, you know, I don't know, like walk up to a kid and you like fucking take his candy and you pop his balloon. Hey man, that wasn't nice, but people are going to totally react to that. They're going to be like, that guy's so lame, let's kill him. Or something like that. It's not going to be easy like that. Or maybe you go up to the kid and you give him $1,000,000 and people are going to be like, oh my god, that guy gave that kid $1,000,000. That was very, very unresponsible of him to do that. But either way, something that you did has created a form in people's memory, and it has left a trail of something, right? So you made a difference. Like, some people saw what you did and it leaves an impression in them. You know, just like a boot leaves an impression in snow or sand or something like that, you know, and eventually it'll be wiped away. But what you did is going to be left in the memories and the expressions that creates for people. And if you are controlling and if you're aware of what you're doing inside of yourself and the activity that you allow yourself to do, that's freedom. Because you aren't left with the boundaries of something that has been environmentally dictated to you. You are aware that you take a step back, you think about something consciously, and then you express it in the most harmonic way that you can. And that's really being a human. That's really being somebody who's stepping up on their game, you know. And maybe in another video come out with ways to do that sort of thing, but I don't know. I don't want to run this one too long. But anyways, just be aware or try to understand what are the unconscious things that are dictating your life. What are the things that are making you complacent? What are the things that are making you emotive? What is driving you? Really think about it. Really be mindful about all of those things, because if you're mindful about all of those things and you see where they lie, then it's going to lead you into a more harmonic place. Instead of letting unconscious things lead you into a wall, how about you are aware of those things and you drive them like a horse? You drive it like a vehicle. You create what you do in your life. You create what it is that expresses itself. And it may not be happiness, because your happiness is going to lead you into a specific way. If you want to, you know, happiness should be the first thing that happens in your life. It should be the fundamental thing. It shouldn't be the purpose of it. It should just be something that has happened because of the sweetness and of the harmony that you've created in your life. Now that is something that we should all strive for, is harmony with other things. It'll be a giving and it'll be a taking, but it'll be yours and you'll be able to work through it. Now work through that with other people and just love other people, and there are ways to do that. So, you know, much love, and I hope you have a good day.